So I'm going to be setting up DOS on an old computer I have. It has a hard drive that has Windows 2000 on it right now. And since that's formatted with NTFS, I can't just install DOS. So I'm going to put this old hard drive in and format it with FAT, which is the old file system that DOS used to use. And since I'm going to have two drives, I may have to work with the master-slave jumper, but we shall see, because I'm going to actually plug it into a different ISA slot, different IDE slot on the motherboard. So I've got the system opened up here, and just to show you where this is going to plug in, here is the current hard drive plugged into that ISA port, and there's another port right next to it. Not sure if you can see it there. That's where we're going to plug this cable. So here's the cable. I'm going to put the hard drive in this free slot if possible. There's not much room to work with in this E-machine. We'll see what we can do. So in order to get this in here, I'm going to take this cable off the current hard drive. You can see that there's an empty slot where it can slide in there, and I'll have to find some screws that'll work. Just gonna try to get this in here. They need to take off this power cord too. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. Alright, now we can get this in here. There we go, that's actually pretty snug. I don't think I'll even need any screws on that. So now I'll hook the power up to the old drive, hook it up to the new drive. Okay. Old cable. Might as well do the new cable. There's little pins on here. See right there? Protects you from putting it in incorrectly. Okay. Feels nice and snug. So I'll hook it up to the drive. Gotta be careful not to bend any pins. Alright. There we go. It's nice and snug. Now we'll hook back up our old cable. Alright, we'll fire it on and see what happens. So I was poking around in the BIOS and I actually found this hard disk boot priority. So it shows the Maxter should try to boot first, which is going to be good because that's where we're going to install DRDOS 6. So we're going to give it a shot here. We're going to exit. Yes. Boot from the 5¼ inch floppy diskette drive, which we have DRDOS 6.0 ready to go. We're not going to load Superstore because that's a compression driver and we don't have the drive compressed. So now we're going to run our handy F disk. This is how you used to have to set up drives, the partitioning. Okay, so there it is. It found it. That's how many megabytes it found. And what we're going to do is create a DOS partition. It'll be the primary partition. There's not enough space to create another partition. Oh, that makes it sound like there's already something on this drive. You know what? I bet it's not DOS. Alright, I'm having an issue trying to get to this partition because it wasn't formatted under DOS. So we're going to try fdisk/d. Allows deletion of unknown partitions. So now we're going to try 2 again. Do you really want to erase all the data? Yes. Alright, that did it. Now it's gone. So now we're going to create the DOS partition. Primary. 503 megabytes. Yes. It's doing its thing. This may take a little while. Okay. It's running through all the blocks, testing them. Enter a disk label, dr-dos. Partitions created. Alright, select bootable partition. We're going to make partition 1 bootable. Done with that. Time to exit. It's going to reload the operating system. And we got a disk error because I tried to swap it out with a copy of my dr-dos, and evidently I didn't make the disk bootable. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the old one again, the one that's starting to go bad. There's only 2 files on there that are going bad so far, and of course one of them is EMM386, which is crucial. So I may need to try to swap in the other disk while it's starting to copy. No, don't load Superstore. Alright, now I'm gonna put the other disk in since I just got this one to boot. DOS is loaded into memory right now, at least the command com is. And now we're gonna run install. Wow, I haven't seen this screen in a long time. There's the Digital Research logo. Okay, we're going to continue. Install it on the hard disk. Maximum performance we're going to use. Yep, that looks good. Installing the dr-dos. Replace all DOS files. I'm going to configure. Select the area you wish to configure from the list below. Memory max. Oh, there's a lot of different settings here. You know, we can do this at a different time, but yeah, we do want it to load EMM386. Relocate the dr-dos data areas and drivers. try to get those in a high memory. Configuration. That's interesting. The expanded memory, it's a little confused. I guess because there's so much, it says negative 64. Let's max that out. Windows in standard mode. We may end up putting Windows 3.1 on here eventually, so I don't think we need it to run in standard mode though. Use spare video memory space for RAM. No, we don't need to do that. Let's go ahead and accept. Task Max was a way to do multitasking in DRDOS. Pretty sweet. Okay, let's just go ahead and check these out. Yes, we're going to load all that. Fast open. Concurrent files 20. That was always low. We're going to make that 80. Some games and old programs required more files to be open. LPT, no, we're not going to have printer set up. Save changes. Install. Okay, we're going to have to put the old corrupted diskette in here. See how far it gets. Okay, we don't have an old DOS, so it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna go ahead and continue anyway. So no, do not save the old system. Now it's copying the new ones. Eventually it's going to fail when it hits right around EGA and EMM386. See if we can trick it and put our diskette, that's the copy, in there. Yep, there it goes. Okay. Here we go. See, they built in some fault tolerance here. Put it in, we'll try retry, escape. No, it didn't trick it. It wants to start up diskette. So what we'll have to do is skip that and I'll manually copy it after I get all the other files on there. Without EMM386 loaded, it'll have crap for memory. Continue. It's starting over. Okay, well, I'm going to have to come back and make this other floppy diskette bootable first. Since my other copied diskette is not bootable, I'm going to try to do a sys command to make it so. Insert the destination floppy diskette. Okay. Let's write a new boot sector on it. Now we should be able to boot with our correct floppy drive, floppy diskette. Give it a shot here. Control delete. There we go. Now the install should go forth very smoothly. I had a bunch of high density 5 1/4 inch floppy diskettes that I never used. I I never thought they'd come in handy, but evidently they did. Let's go back in and fix this weird memory issue, which was -64. Just had so much memory it couldn't handle it. Actually, we do not want to save the old operating system. Now, I don't know why it's saying that. This is the startup diskette. So something still isn't quite right. I'll have to figure out what it is. Okay, since I can't get the install program to work properly and get past that bad EMM file, I'm just going to copy all of the drdos files on this diskette to the drdos directory. This should get us past that error. There we go, we're past it. Now we'll do the same thing with disk 2. You can hit the F3 command in DOS to repeat the last command. Finish copying up all the files, and then we should be able to boot this hard drive with drdos. Now I'm going to try running the setup program manually and see if it's smart enough to configure everything. Okay, we're going to create a new config.sys and a new autoexec.bat. Max my performance. Expanded memory. Or extended memory. I believe EMS is extended and XMS is expanded. Let's see if that sticks. We definitely want PC Quick Disk Cache. That is an awesome cache. Makes it so much faster. Superstore device driver we're not going to use, just in case we want to be able to access this hard drive from Windows 2000 at some point. If you compress it with Superstore, then that'll be a huge issue. Virtual disk support, I don't think we need to load that either. There we go, there's expanded versus extended memory. Okay. And then they have a delete watch program, which came with drdos. It's pretty sweet. It would monitor files that were deleted, and then you could go in and undelete them quite easily. Very nice for the time. You can even configure it for certain extensions. How much is remembered history-wise in the buffer? Let's increase that a little bit. Number of buffers, usually you want at least 40. Files, 100. FCBs, 20. Yeah, that's fine. Temporary files. Put them in temp. 40 file locks at least. Don't have a printer port. Save changes and exit. Alright, we're going to reboot. I'm going to take the floppy diskette out. We're going to see if this hard drive will now boot with DRDOS. Got a blank screen. So I just updated the config.sys and rammed out the display driver. Let's see if that makes it where we can boot now. Still getting hung up on something. So I just disabled power management in the BIOS and plug and play operating system. So let's see if it'll boot now. Still getting hung up somewhere. Okay, rebooting again. This time I renamed the autoexec.bat to get rid of that, to see if it's hanging it up somewhere. Here we go, DRDOS release. Enter the date. The date is correct. And I'll need to get an old keyboard because the USB keyboard's obviously not going to work. It's not supported under DOS. So let's go do that. So I went through my old supplies and found a PS2 connector keyboard. So this should work with DOS. I'm going to hook it up and find out. It's plugged in, so now let's see if it accepts my commands. Oh yeah. We are in business. There we are. Now we can start installing our DOS games and giving them a try. I ran the mem command first just to double check and see our memory situation, and it's absolutely fantastic right now. As you can see, I'm getting 620K conventional memory, which is typically what most games would require back in the day, and we have 15 megabytes of extended memory. And actually, that may not sound like much at all, but in DOS days, that was more than plenty. I'm going to try to install War in Middle Earth, see how that one works. Go to our A drive. Should be a executable on here to run. I'm going to copy War Middle Earth off the floppy diskettes to a subdirectory under games on my hard drive. Let's see if it works. It'll run so much faster off the hard drive. Disk 1 copied. F3 to repeat the command. Disk 2 copied. So now we're going to change to that directory. We're going to try to run it. We're going to see what happens. Looks like success. Sweet. Now I just have to set up a mouse and try to get some kind of sound enabled. But the game itself is actually working. You can see I can control this little mouse pointer with the keyboard, but that would be impossible. So much fun. So now on the same computer, I booted in Windows 2000 mode, and you can see here's our DR-DOS hard drive, that 500 megabytes. We can go in here and we can update. This is where I installed Warren Middle Earth, so it'll be pretty easy to actually copy files up now and then run them on DOS. I could do it from here and then turn around and reboot, switch the hard drive over to the other Mac store for booting, and then have some more fun with pure DOS. Of course, there's not really much of a need to do that anymore since we have DOSBox and other emulators, but it's still fun. Play around with DOS and boot and play the old games that way. Brings back a lot of memories. Well, after copying off all my floppy diskettes, I have come to the conclusion that as far as longevity and lifespan of diskettes, 5¼ inch are by far superior to 3½ inch. Even though all these diskettes were about the same age, I could only find about 2 or 3 3½ inch floppies that survived and that I could read today. And that's even using a new USB 3½ inch drive. I tried my old drive and I cleaned the heads on it, and I also purchased one of those because I thought maybe the drive was old, but no, it's the diskettes. So that answers the age-old question. I remember wondering about that when I was in high school. Which one would last longer? So it's obvious today. It is the 5¼